astronauts that cannot come back with their original capsule.
Boeing style liner.
Boeing designed, and also the question was asked, how about the Chinese station? And we know that there is this is Shenzhou 18 mission. We have 19 mission already in the vicinity. Once this is launched, the 19 will be on the pad for any emergency cases.
This is 19.
So
19.
Sorry,
this is 19,
20.
so we have 20 waiting.
So 20 is going to be standby for any cases that anything happens to the previous crew, and we can send the 20 for emergency.
Now, Mr. Cai Qizhe, the commander, is go down from the orbital module to the re-entry capsule with the help of the ground crew. You can see that.
And again, another very tight fit. I mean, this is really, there's just no space for maneuver.
But today, it's already from a very standard routine. So the ground crew is also well-trained and experienced. Right? So they do know what they should do to help the astronauts to go more smoothly. And also, you know that usually the ground crew have two categories. One from the medical team, usually belongs to the astronaut system, who are in charge of the monitoring the health condition of the astronaut. And also the other team belongs to the spacecraft system, because you know that all these modules belongs to the Shenzhou spaceship. So they also need to ensure that everything is okay, including that finally they need to close the hatch, close the front hatch of the re-entry capsule, and then close the side hatch of the orbital module, and then close the panel of the payload fairing. So with these measures, so at this moment, if they have something wrong, they can only escape based on the emergency escape system. So that is the reason why the top platform should be opened first.
What are they passing around right now? That little clipboard.
Well, you may notice that they are still. You can see that Miss Wang is checking some menus.
A lot of fiddling around there.
Some handbooks. So that I believe that inside this handbook not only have the instructions of how to do in normal condition, but also have all kinds of instructions on in abnormal case what you should do.
Emergency case.
Yeah. So they have to be familiar with all these kind of tasks, and also do all kinds of trainings before the launch.
There's a checklist for them to go through.
Exactly.
And that's what they're looking at right now, isn't it? Well, let's check in with our reporters. So we do have the three taikonauts, Cai Qizhe, Song Yingdong, and Wang Haoze, now in the capsule and making themselves comfortable there. And the spacecraft will be soon taking off from the Jiuquan satellite launch pad and bound for the Tiangong space station. So Sun Ye is at the satellite launch center and Zheng Yibing is at the Beijing Aerospace Control Center. So let's check in with both of them. Hi, Sun Ye. So what do you have for us? How are the preparations there? What's the mood like?
Hi there, Jiayang. So we are 1.5 kilometers away from the launch pad, and you can see the rocket is still wrapped in those blue rotation platforms. It's wrapped there. It's protected from the chill and from everything else. But really, the temperature isn't that big a problem, considering all the preparations they've been doing. When that rocket reveals itself in time, you'll find there are heating pads taped around the rocket. That's for an extra layer of warmth, and when it's launched, those heating packs will come off. We've just talked to experts in the rocket system, in the launch center system, and in the spaceship system, and all these experts say everything is proceeding according to plan, smoothly, and as they've always said, and usually say everything is normal and it's in good condition. But we do want to share a little bit of things that happened earlier. Now that the Taikonauts are in the spaceship and they have traveled from that square of dream come true in that seeing off ceremony to the launch pad. Earlier, we also traveled in a minibus on that whole path. So I think you have seen the aerial shots, how this whole place is lit up and decked up, but we have seen what the Taikonauts are seeing at their eye level, on the street level. One thing that's quite interesting are the road signs. Here, the road signs, the street names, they are quite meaningful and special. There is the road of technology. There is the street of aerospace.
fantastic. He touch me on me box, he says I'm Mr. Roll. Smooth.
Nuevo Honor 200 Series. Lente y sensor exclusivo.
Space is romantic. Space exploration is limitless. Let's go explore space together. So these are probably the last messages, the last words the taikonauts see before they enter into that launch tower and into space. And all of these words, like what we've been seeing throughout the day, are the best wishes from people here. Jiayang.
Oh, that's definitely nice messages to see before they embark on this really important mission. Thank you so much, Sun Ye at the Jiuquan Launch Center. And now let's head over to Zheng Yibing, who's at the Beijing Aerospace Control Center, and that is the place which will oversee the launch. Yibing, what are you seeing there? What's happening?
Well, yes, Zhou Yang. The Jiuquan Satellite Launch Center now, the Shenzhou 19 crewed flight mission is in the launch sequence. But here in Beijing, the Chinese capital, the Aerospace Control Center, from the big screen behind me, we can see the multiple angles of the Shenzhou 19 crew, their status in the spacecraft and the Shenzhou 19. Well, this is a center which is what you call the Beijing Aerospace Control Center. Well, last time when we were here was for the Chang'e 6 lunar mission, and this time is for the Shenzhou 19 crewed flight mission. And this center is for the whole mission of the Shenzhou 19 mission, and it coordinates all systems from the launching center to the landing site, and also the measurement and control stations across the world, and as well as the China's Tiangong space station. So from here, we can not only hear the brief and short communication between the Beijing Aerospace Control Center and other centers and other stations, we can hear also the typical Beijing copy between them. So that is really impressive. And on the big screen behind me, we can see the status of the Shenzhou 19 crew. They have entered the Shenzhou 19 spacecraft while the three taikonauts are reading the handbook, the menu for this whole mission. And they look very firm and determined for the upcoming mission, and for the ignition and for the handover in space to meet with the Shenzhou 18 crew. And in the coming hours, we could also see the status of the Shenzhou 18 crew. The crew has been in space for half a year. They're making the final preparation to welcome the newcomers to the Tiangong space station, and they will hand over in the Tiangong space station for a couple of days. So that is a really impressive moments to come. So back to you, Jiayang.
Yes, we're looking at the very same images as well. Thank you so much, Yibing at the Beijing Space Control Center.
We notice that all these three crew members are checking their handbooks, so they are very but they are very confident, but still they are very careful to ensure that they are familiar with any step.
That's actually a really similar scene to seeing them come back to Earth as well, right? They've got that little checklist.
Yeah.
But what would be different then on the launch checklist and the return checklist?
I think the launch checklist would be a shorter one, because it's more of a routine. It's it's not controlled by the crew, but they have to just to provide informations inside the capsule. But all the launching sequence is not part of the crew pressing the button, but it's someone on the ground in the control room press the firing of the rocket, and then there's less than 10 minutes, you'll be out of atmosphere and out of the Earth.
So is this more of a reassurance thing?
I think they have gone through all the exercises many times, but they're quite serious because this time is for real. So they have to go through the process very carefully. And also, as Professor Yang mentioned, there's what we call a full-time safety protection. Outside the capsule, the astronauts can slide down to a bunker, and there's like a rubber tube for astronauts to go sliding down from the lift. And also inside the capsule now, the what we call escape tower is activated. So in case
we're at the 2-hour countdown now. Sorry to interrupt you there.
It's T-minus 2 hours and counting.
2 hours to go till launch.
So in different countdown moments, we have the checking of the different critical systems, including the launch site systems, the rocket systems, the Shenzhou spacecraft system, the TT&C systems, and also our Tiangong space station systems. Everything should be go ahead.
So it's like a protocol they have already, exercised many times. Once you call 2 hours preparations, then there is an activation of a number of actions, and including all the systems.
Look, the first platform is now opened, as I mentioned.
The very top platform.
The very top one.
And then it'll be the very bottom
you
one,
can see that the emergency escape tower, we can already have a direct eyesight with that.
We're hearing more system checks there.
That means the activation of the escape tower, yes, to ensure the safety of the astronauts.
Mr. Xu, I understand that you get to have a little break now, but we'll bring you back a little later in the program as we continue to watch the launch.
So when the emergency escape tower ignited, so there will be no any obstacle because the first platform has already opened.
Right.
So this is also a safety measure.
What China has laid out its roadmap for space science development, and one of the key goals of the plan is to become a space industry leader by 2050. And other objectives include a manned lunar mission. Let's take a look.
China announced its first ever medium and long-term plans for space science development. A variety of key research areas have been listed and include exploring the origin and evolution of the universe, gravitational waves, the sun, the earth, the heliosphere for a panoramic view of sun-earth, the habitability of celestial bodies in the solar system and beyond, and search for extraterrestrial life, the laws of matter movement and life activities in space, and more.
规划提出了至2050年我国空间科学发展的路线
The
图。
plan proposes a roadmap for China's space science development up until 2050. Between 2028 and 2035, operations on China's space station will continue and will implement missions such as a manned lunar exploration mission. Around 15 satellite missions will also be conducted. Between 2036 and 2050, we plan to conduct some 30 space science missions and become a global leader in certain areas.
China's manned space program has revealed that Chinese taikonnauts will travel to the moon by 2030. These lunar expeditions are expected to involve cutting-edge science experiments.
Well, the Shenzhou 19 crew will be carrying out 86 space science research and technology experiments during their mission. A spokesperson of the China Manned Space Agency gave the details at a news conference.
载人航天工程自立项之初
Since the very beginning of the program, we have put a great importance on space science as a vital part of development strategy. Following the concept of building ships to build stations and build stations for utilization, we integrate the engineering and scientific objectives and promote them at the same time. Our program's space science and application missions are critical parts of the national strategy. We have actively participated in the making of the national medium and long-term plan, and will see it to be implemented. During the Shenzhou 19 flight, according to the plan section on biological and physical science in space, 86 space science and technology experiments will be carried out in the field of space life science, fundamental physics of microgravity, space material science, space medicine, new space technology, etc. For instance, structural analysis of protein crystals grown under microgravity conditions and non-equilibrium dynamics of soft matter. It's expected that a number of scientific achievements will be made in frontier research on fundamental theories, preparation of new materials, mechanisms of physiological effects of space radiation and weightlessness, submagnetic biological effects, and molecular mechanisms, etc. In addition, on the occasion of the second anniversary of CSS completion, we will publicly release the progress report on scientific research and application of China's space station to the society, introducing the representative results achieved since CSS entered the orbit. In the future, we will use the plan as a guide to further focus on key issues, strengthen the organic integration of scientific objectives and human spaceflight missions, and make greater contributions to the high-quality development of China's space science and space costs.
We've been playing a bit of musical chairs. Professor Yang and I were where we were, but we now have Wu Lei here in the studio with us, our veteran space reporter. Wu Lei, great to have you in here. Wu Lei, you've covered a lot of space missions and China's lunar program as well. Tell us a bit about your experience. How does this one compare?
Yeah, exactly. This is my fourth time to cover the human space flight missions after the Shenzhou 11, Shenzhou 16, and Shenzhou 17. And this is my first time in the studio to share the experience of these valuable and memorable experiences. And I found that in recent years, for the human spaceflight missions, global space society have been paying a lot of attention on these missions. They want to know more about these taconauts and also the missions on board the China's Tiangong space station. So in recent years, whenever we go to these kind of international space meetings, conferences, and also the exhibitions, the global space experts want to understand the latest development of China's Tiangong space station, the experiments to be conducted on that, and also China's lunar and Mars explorations. So here, this time for the Shenzhou 19 crew, a lot of attention also being attached. So they will be following carefully about these spacewalks and also a kind of experiments. Early this month, I went to Milan for the International Astronautical Congress. A lot of people asking that the latest about the China's Tiangong space station, what about the telescope and other space experiments to be held in the Tiangong space station. So we can see that a lot of interest and also growing cooperation on this platform, the Tiangong space station, will be conducted.
Well, speaking of this particular mission and the research projects and experiments, can you tell us about some of them? We're seeing 86 experiments and tasks to do, right?
Absolutely. This whole morning, I also watched the whole press conference. And I noticed that there are over 86 experiments and tests, because we know that on board the Tiangong space station, inside there are kinds of experiments like space materials, space medicine, and also biospace technology, and also microgravity experiments. And also outside of this cabin, the taconauts will have these spacewalks, and also they are going to install some kind of space debris protection devices, like, because the Tiangong space station is orbiting about 400 kilometers away from the Earth, and there are a lot of space debris, and they are now for the Shenzhou 18 crew, they have already installed some part of these devices, and Shenzhou 19 crew will continue to install this kind of space debris protection devices, and also they will conduct several times of spacewalks to continue to conduct the experiments outside of the cabin because of the microgravity environment, the radiation, and other. So there are a lot of experiments that to be put outside of the cabin. And also this time, I heard from my colleagues Sun Ye and Chen Yiling, they have talked to a lot of scientists and also engineers from the Chinese Academy of Sciences. They have brought many kinds of new experiments to the Tiangong space station, because we know every time each crew will conduct different types of experiments. And this time, one experiment that really impressed me most is that they even brought some space flight in the flies, fruit flies,
living flies.
Yeah, little fruit flies to the Tiangong space station. They want to observe how they grow and how they mutate in that kind of microgravity environment.
Is that the first time they're bringing living animals into
No.
space?
Last time they even brought some fish.
Oh.
Yeah,
zebrafish
in the Tiangong space station, and we believe that in the next few years, more plants, more animals, more
mammals,
will be brought to the Tiangong space station. Don't forget that Cai Xuzhe, when he was in his last mission, he even grew a lot of plants, vegetables, and
he ate it.
Yeah, he ate it, and he said that it tastes very good. So we can expect that they will have more interesting kind of tests and experiments in the Tiangong space station.
I mean, they're certainly interesting for the scientific field of research and understanding. But Professor Yang, why do these experiments also matter to us here on Earth? How do they apply to our life?
Well, you know that I am a technician in space field. You know well about that. But for me, I always recognize it is my duty to be a bridge between the public and our professional field. You see, the manned space activity need a lot of money, need a very long period, and usually the investment is very huge. But we should be very aware that most of the benefit, most of the returns from this manned space program are indirect. Sometimes, in most circumstances, you need a very long period for the transfer or transplanting of the technology derived from this kind of human space activities. So the public should be patient, and the public should understand this feature. There are many other examples. You know that from the Apollo program conducted in 1990s and 1970s, the United States benefit from it in all areas. And it's actually, although the program is politics driven, but they do have sufficient return from this program. Today, the space capable nations, including with China, paid more about the efficiency. So we hope that we can do more things with limited budget, but still with the scientific research experiments conducted in outer space, sooner or later it can benefit our daily life. So, but it's a little bit complicated to describe the relationship between a certain experiment and a certain technology and a certain application in daily life. So for everyone, usually or in most cases, it's hard to explain.
Right.
But it's have very good examples. For instance, we always see that there are the diapers used for babysitters get from the urine collection device just today. I believe they must bear that. But for common people, it is a simplified version,
right.
or more cheaper. And also, you can see that the non-stick frying pan is developed because we have new material. And the material, these kind of, as we have already mentioned, the studying on new material is one important field. In our Tiangong space station, we even have more than 2 racks dedicated to the material making. Sometimes we use the laser to heat the metals and to have some new alloys, and sometimes we use the higher microgravity level to conduct some kind of material test. So all these, sooner or later, it can benefit our daily life, but we do not know when it can be. We only be sure it can be.
So we're looking at images now of the launch tower, and the astronauts are sitting comfortably, snugly in their seats.
But you see on the video camera, you can see the white one is the top of the emergency escape tower. Right. So it's already to the open space. That means that when the emergency escape system is activated, it can save the lives of the astronauts in when something dangerous happens. For instance, during history, they do not have some malfunction or explosion of the carrier rocket. But at this moment, I believe that Mr. Gitov from the former Soviet Union, his life was saved because of the emergency escape system activated. And just now, I believe that just inside the International Space Station, the commander of the new crew, Mr. Haig, Nick Haig, he has experienced an emergency escape during the Soyuz MS-10 mission, because during the separation of the boosters with the core stage, there is a collision, and the malfunction detection system judged that it is dangerous, and then the escape system activated. So Mr. Nick Haig is the one just experienced these kind of things.
So I mean, these spaceships, they're constantly being updated with the latest technology, right? So what's different about this particular one compared to its predecessors? To both of you.
Well, that's we call this Long March 2F a human-rated launch vehicle, or the only human-rated launch vehicle now in China, which means that to concern about the reliability and the safety is much higher than other launch vehicles used currently in China. Because for human missions with crew inside, we must ensure its safety. Based on the original design, different from its predecessors, the Long March 2E, although Long March 2F have a similar configuration with the Long March 2E, but it has a new malfunction detection system. So the reliability of the Long March 2F is much higher than Long March 2E. Originally, the flight reliability is about 0.97 or 97%. It can ensure the safety. But still, that this is not safe enough for astronauts. 97% means that for every 100 launch, maybe in 3 times, we put the astronauts in danger. So this is not safe enough. So that is reason we add another emergency escape system. So that is a very remarkable feature of the Long March 2F, because it's a very sharp tower. So with this emergency escape system, we can increase the safety of the astronauts from the 1.97 to 1.997, which means that with every 1,000 launch, we only have in 3 cases the lives of the astronauts may be threatened. So this is already acceptable. But today, that with the launch of so many Shenzhou spaceships, the reliability, I don't know the exact figure, but the reliability and also the safety for the astronaut is also increased. So today, with more and more practice, the Long March 2F and the combination with the Shenzhou spacecraft is already become a very, very experienced and very reliable crew transportation system for our Tiangong space station.
Don't forget, China is also developing the new generation manned rocket, like Long March 10, and also new rocket, new spacecraft for the manned lunar missions before 2030. So the scientists already developed that prototype, and that I think in the next few years, they will conduct the tests and also the launch before around 2028, before it can be used to launch the technonauts to, on the moon.
So that will be the second human-rated launch vehicle of China. And it is based on the 5-meter diameter core stage. So it's much bigger than our Long March 12. Because the core stage diameter is 3.35 meters. So with the technology we get based on the Long March 5 series, we can have the experience to make the Long March 10 launch vehicle within 2 years. As Mr. Woolley has already mentioned, maybe the maiden flight will be conducted in 2027 or 2028.
All right. Well, let's get back to this current spacecraft that's carrying the Shenzhou 19, and let's hear a little bit more about the system. And our reporter Chen Yingling spoke to a researcher.
The Shenzhou 19 is the 4th manned spacecraft for a mission to China's space station in its use and development stage. Its structure consists of 3 modules, similar to the previous Shenzhou spacecrafts.
The Shenzhou manned spacecraft is mainly composed of 3 sections, namely the orbital module, the re-entry module, and the propellant module. The orbital module is mainly the work and living area for the taikonauts after entering orbit, and is equipped with sensors for rendezvous and docking with the Tiangong space station. The re-entry model can be seen then as a cockpit, the propellant module is equipped with solar panels and engines, mainly to provide power.
The main upgrade of the Shenzhou 19 spacecraft is its loading capacity, which allows room for more cargo and a more spacious environment for the taikonauts.
We have optimized the orbital module product and layout of the spacecraft. Our research and development team have conducted a lot of tests and experiments in order to fully verify its transport capability.
This year also marks a momentous occasion, the 25th anniversary of the maiden flight of China's Shenzhou spacecraft, the Shenzhou 1. From that historic moment to ambitious missions of today, generations of engineers have put their hearts and unwavering belief into this journey.
What we frequently say is that manned space flights are a matter of life and death. During the entire development process, we always kept this in mind. We display our rigorous, cautious, meticulous, and practical work style to ensure that the entire work is foolproof.
The Shenzhou 19 spaceship has much lined up after taking off. The spaceship will dock with the China space station from the front port of the core module. The assembly already has the Shenzhou 18 spaceship attached. The Shenzhou 20 spacecraft is also standing by at the Jiuquan Satellite Launch Center for emergency rescue. Qinling CGTN from Jiuquan Satellite Launch Center.
Now, at the recently concluded International Astronautical Congress in Milan, Wu Lei spoke with Marco Antonio Chamon, the president of the Brazilian Space Agency, and he talked about the potential of future cooperation between the two countries.
President Marco Chamon, great to be with you here in Milan. What are some of the latest trends that you have seen and being impressed with during this event?
Very impressed here is the blossoming of the industry in the space, the private industry, the private business we have here. One thing that is very impressive is space stations. We have a lot of proposals of private space stations doing by many companies here. I saw many companies providing complete solutions for small satellite constellations. In fact, a real revolution in space.
China and Brazil have collaborated in the space sector for over 35 years, with 6 China-Brazil Earth resource satellites being launched. So what can we expect for the collaboration between these two countries in the future?
We have today 2 satellites in orbit operating, Sirius 4 and 4A, that we share in terms of data and control. But now we are moving forward for other technologies. One, radar is very useful too for land imaging, and meteorology that is very important to us in terms of monitoring and the forecasting of natural disasters. We will discuss and we will act in terms of lunar or space exploration outside the orbit of Earth with China. So it's a really fantastic and very fruitful collaboration that we have between Brazil and China.
Brazil and China are both founding members of the BRICS bloc. These countries have signed on to cooperate on the remote sensing constellation program. How important is this program for future collaboration in the space sector among BRICS countries?
We need more and more collaboration, and I think BRICS and other multilateral mechanisms, BRICS in particular, is very important for that. Remote sensing agreement that we have signed among BRICS countries is a very important sign that we can and we do things together. But we have already implemented some projects inside this agreement, and very successful. Training and capacity building for the use of the data. I think that the future for BRICS and BRICS Plus is to expand our collaboration in remote sensing, including other technologies and capacity building.
So, Wu Lei, that was earlier this month for you in Milan, and Professor Yang, you were there as well. Talk to us about some of the highlights that you saw there. What stood out for you?
Oh, really? That was the largest space event every year. So this year was held in Milan. Next year will be held in Sydney, Australia. So this is a biggest gathering for space people.
Yeah.
Not only astronauts, but also scientists, experts, and engineers. Students come here to exchange their ideas, to talk about, discuss the latest collaborations. So one thing that really impressed me most was growing interest in China's space development, because this time China showcased the first samples collected from the far side of the moon by the Chang'e 6 mission. And every day, I can say that hundreds of thousands of people come to the China booth, space booth, and to see how it looks. And also many people inquire how can they borrow some or have some samples from these Chang'e 6 mission, because now China has already opened that to the whole world. The global scientists, space organizations can apply to borrow the samples from this very precious cargo from the Chang'e 5 and Chang'e 6 missions. And the other thing is that China also presented the latest development. It's a commercial space sector, many rockets and also satellites and also other segment products in the space sector have been presented in the booth. And also I visited the NASA booth and also ESA booth and also India space booth. I can see that many countries around the world are now investing more in the space sector, because nowadays you can see that with a lot of attention on the lunar missions and also on Mars and the other deep space exploration missions, a growing number of countries like Brazil, like India, and also other developing countries are investing more in the space sector. They want to take the advantage of a space exploration to develop their own space sector. And China has a space station now orbiting there, and also China proposed to build an international lunar research station. Over 15 countries and regions have already signed in. So a lot of countries want to collaborate with China on these lunar and also deep space missions. So in the future, we can see more collaboration will be expected in this area. And also for the astronauts side, many countries want to send the astronauts to China's space station. A lot of countries have already applied, and we are being told by the China Manned Space Agency, in the future, foreign astronauts will come to China for the training, and they will be sent to China Space Station. They will work alongside with Chinese astronauts, scientists, engineers together to operate and do the space experiments. And last but not least, and I can feel that a growing number of commercial space applications have been provided in this exhibition. Many companies, private companies, they are offering a kind of commercial space application, or also private space station. A lot of private companies, they are offering a full set of a private space station, and also space travel, space tourism, and also space application. So in the next few years, I can see that a lot of private companies will pull in this kind of private space station, private lunar missions, private, a lot of private companies have been investing more in the space sector. So these are most of that impressed me most. So every time, although this is my second time attending the IAC, I have already found many changes. So we're hoping that more Chinese scientists and more Chinese engineers and also journalists can take the opportunity to go to these places to, like Professor Yang said, we are the bridge to bridge this kind of gap between the scientists and the public.
Right. What kind of changes then? Is it changes from the first time that you attended? In what areas of space development?
Last year was held in Baku, in Azerbaijan, this year in Italy. So I can see that this year more European countries go to Italy and go to Milan. But we can feel that a growing number of Asian countries, developing countries like the many African countries also go there. I talked to the CEO of South African National Space Agency. They also showcased their they have brought over, I can remember that 15 private companies from South African. They are showcasing their latest development about the satellites and like the micro satellites, and also they are hoping to be part of the whole space sector. So I can feel that a growing number of developing countries, they are hoping to take part in this kind of whole sector, because that for the space sector, they have rockets, they have satellites, they have facilities, training, a lot of things that you can be part of this whole ecosystem. So I can feel that not only in the past, only the US, Russia, and also ESA, a lot of developed countries have been in this game or this sector, but now a lot of developing countries are joining in. So this is one of my big impressions.
Is that a trend that you saw as well over there, Professor Yang?
Well, that my duty is chair of the Space Transportation Committee, so I should monitor the 9 sessions we are in charge of. So every day on my way to the room conducting the session, I can very frankly see Mr. Wu Lei has an interview with an important person. Some of them are my friends. Also, the IAC, or the International Astronautical Congress, is the right place for communication between different sectors. So for this, usually we call this the Olympic game in space field. So we have the guys from the governments, from the universities, from the industry, from the private firms, from the other organizations or NGOs. Oh, we just heard a voice from the ground commander. Yeah.
Another systems check-in, making sure that everything is in order.
So let's continue our topic. That during IAC, Mr. Wu Lei, I believe because as he mentioned, he attended the Congress in Azerbaijan last year in Baku. So what impressed me most that because although that Azerbaijan is a very small country, but it's very enthusiastic on hosting the IAC, and you can even get your badge in the airport, very convenient. And also you can even see the logos of IAC on taxis. So that is what impressed me more. Of course, this time there are more delegates, more than 11 or 12,000 delegates.
A record number.
Break another record. Also, the papers delivered to my committee also make a record. So we have a very tough task to select the right papers. Very hard choice, because many of them are very, very good papers, but still very hard for us to choose. But still, I should also emphasize that the IAF community should plays a leading role in the communication and better understanding of different organizations. We have a concept of the 3G, or gender, geography, generation. So today we see the launch of the Shenzhou 19 crew, with different gender, with different generation. And of course, with the view of China with different geography, because they come from different provinces in China. So the 3G is a basic concept of the IF community to have more concern on diversity. So this is a right consideration to improve the better understanding of the communication between different areas of the world and to benefit the whole world.
And Wu Lei, with more emerging countries, more developing countries joining in the space game, they are going to be looking for more collaboration, possibly with China as well. So what potential areas do you see then for this sort of collaboration in space?
Yeah, during this IC, I think a lot of countries showing interest in the International Lunar Research Station that I mentioned, because over the next few decades, I think that will be a mega project on the moon, on the south of the moon. And they are going to build, a permanent base. The scientists, the astronauts, engineers will be working there, and to study the lunar resource, and also take that opportunity to continue the deep space exploration. And during this IC, the Chinese city of Hefei has already applied to host another IC in 2028. So the deep space exploration lab the headquarters is in Hefei city. So the deep space exploration lab is going to host, planning to host the IC 2028. So we are hoping to that more scientists, engineers can take this opportunity to know the latest developments about the International Lunar Research Station. So during this time, this week in Milan,